So, sir, shall we start now?
Yes, 1 minute. I'm
Huh.
ready. I just, yes.
So, good evening, one and all. On behalf of Navjivan Center for Development, I, Sanjay Vanani, would like to welcome you on this webinar called How to Write a Winning Grant Proposal. So, today we have very esteemed speakers from SBA Foundations. And actually, the idea is given by Mr. Nixon Joseph, sir, for empowering the non-profits because uh, many of the organizations they are facing the issues that while writing the proposals. So with aim to empower the non-profit, we have decided to choose this topic, and we have also have today with learned facilitators, Mr. Rajaram Chavan from SBA Foundations. So on behalf of development sector professional community, sir, I would like to welcome you. And before starting our sessions, let me give the introductions of Sri Nixon Joseph, sir. Sir is the President and Chief Operating Officer of SBA Foundations. Sir, he has been actively involved in the lot of developmental and community serving banking activities. He works closely with the SBA flagship programs and is the face behind the success of the CSR initiative. Sri Nixon Joseph, sir, joined the SBI as a probation officer in 1985. As a banker, he has extensively experience in the various facets of banking like corporate credit, retail operations, and international banking. His international assignments include the manager, SBI Bahrain, Chief Executive Officer, SBI Tokyo branch. He is a certified credit compliance and information system banker. He has received Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam Award for Professional Excellence, and also he is the former president, Toastmasters Club, Tokyo, and founding member of Tokyo International Debating Society. He is known for his love for distance running and has successfully completed more than 35 full marathons, the only public sector bankers with such an achievement. As the coordinator of SBI Youth for India flagship program of SBI, he has been mentoring the hundreds of youth through his active involvement in the spreading operations. SBI Foundation has positively impacted millions of lives. In addition to that, sir, we really appreciate your contributions because I think almost every day you have the one sessions with various organization. So we really appreciate, sir, your way of sharing the wisdom with other people. So thank you, sir. And now I would like to request to share your words of wisdom by considering our today's topic. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Oh, good evening, everyone. And thank you, Navjivan Center for Development and Professor Sanjay Vanani for inviting me to this masterclass on how to write a grant winning proposal. The topic is very, very relevant, especially since the amendment to the Companies Act 2013, when corporates were mandated to spend 2% of their profit on corporate social responsibility activities. And the only way for most of the corporates, I would tell even 98% of the corporates, is to associate with NGOs. Because corporates have the resources, foundations have the resources, but the expertise, the ground level contacts, the experience of implementing projects lies with NGOs. So necessarily, corporates and NGOs have to collaborate to take forward the CSR activities and development activities in the years to come. We have more than 30 lakhs of NGOs in India. And I think the present number would be maybe more than 40 lakhs. It means there is one NGO for 500 to 600 people, whereas we have only one policeman for 900 to 1,000 people. That shows that the number of NGOs in India are increasing year on year. This also becomes a challenge for corporates on how to partner, which NGO should be selected as a partner. Corporates are accountable to their boards, to various stakeholders for the money being spent on CSR activities. And therefore, they demand partnership with credible NGOs. It is here that the importance of due diligence of NGOs comes into play. During my innings with SBI Foundation, I have found a lot of challenges which our NGOs are facing while submitting proposals to foundations, to the donors. It mainly arises, one, because NGOs don't have sufficient resources to address all these issues. NGOs are very much experts. They have sufficient expertise in implementing projects. But when it comes to documentation, when it comes to submitting the required documents or proposal to the donors, to the foundations, it's quite challenging for them. And if the proposals submitted lack lot of documents or a lot of required data, the foundations would not be interested in partnering with such a project or with the NGOs. It is in this context that we thought that we would, to begin with, have some NGOs equipped with necessary knowledge and skill to prepare projects, proposals on their own, and they can become a winning grant proposal. I will just cover on what we observe or what we want to see in the proposals which are being submitted. My colleague Rajaram would take you through these in detail. But on a macro perspective, if I were to tell, I will tell that as a foundation, we would like to partner with an NGO which is having the same values, same vision, same philosophy as SBI Foundation. We look at the experience of the NGOs. How many years the NGOs have been in existence and how long they have been working at the grassroots level or in the chosen level of team. We see the credibility of the promoters. We see the profile of the promoters. We also see whether the board or trust is having names of prominent persons as trustees or as board members only for namesake, or whether they are actively involved in the decision making and implementation of the NGOs. If we find that, if we observe that most of the names of prominent persons are just for getting visibility, and these board members are not actively involved with the NGO activities, we may not favor such NGOs. And many of the NGOs, we find that they have only one or two active promoters, which means it is a family-driven NGO. We would like more independent directors, independent trustees, independent advisory members in the board, so that the NGO gains by their wide experience, rich experience, and also different perspectives. We would go through the history of the NGO to find out whether they have implemented programs earlier quite satisfactorily, whether the NGOs have kept the timelines earlier, whether the NGO has submitted a proposal where they are having the necessary expertise. An NGO may be good in education, but if they submit a proposal related to health, it may not find favor with us. Also, whether the NGO has executed similar projects earlier, whether they have constructed the budget properly, and finally, whether the NGO has devised methods to study the impact, and what are the indicators to measure the success of the project. So these are the main aspects which we see when we receive a proposal from NGOs. And this is known as due diligence. The same way banks look at credit proposals, they do due diligence on credit proposals. The same way SBI Foundation and all other foundations also do due diligence on NGOs. Therefore, NGOs should be thorough about how to submit proposal, what are the aspects which foundations look into before they sanction grants, what are the documents they should be in possession. All these aspects would be covered by my colleagues. Finally, I would like to tell one thing to all the NGOs, that from my experience, I have found that most of the NGOs are not very focused towards submitting progress reports regularly to the donors or in the way it is required. As a corporate, as a foundation, we are accountable to the board, as I earlier told. For every rupee spent, we have to convince our board that the amount has been properly utilized and the impact has been created. To convince our board members, we require proper data and evidence. So, NGOs should be properly documenting whatever is happening, properly documenting the data about the progress in the project, and also show keenness and extra willingness to share with the corporates all the data, all the required information, and also inform the corporate or the foundation about what are the real challenges they face while implementing the project. It should not be taken as a partnership with two differing organizations. Rather, NGOs, once they partner with the corporates, or the corporates when they select the NGOs for partnership, from their own, it is a teamwork. And therefore, whatever challenges the NGOs find at a grassroots level in implementing the project should be conveyed to the corporate, so that corporate is also aware about the reality at the grassroots level. And also, it provides an opportunity to the corporate to review the project. So there has to be a proper understanding of the vision of both the partners. There has to be a proper understanding about the project. What are the expectations from the foundation? And what are the expectations the NGO is having from the corporate? In all these aspects, there has to be a consensus. There has to be an agreement from the beginning itself, so so that the project can go on successfully. It should be thought that it's not a one-off relationship. Rather, it should be a continuous relationship where the synergies of both the organizations would help in implementing the CSR project and in turn development activities in India. I will just close my opening remarks here, and I would invite my colleague Rajaram, who is program manager with SBI Foundation. He has been dealing with proposals for so many years. So he will be now taking you through on what it takes to build a grant winning proposal. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your opening remarks and sharing the crux of the today's discussions. Now we have as a facilitator of this program is Mr. Rajaram Chavan. Mr. Rajaram Chavan is the Deputy Manager, SBA Foundations, and he did his Master of Social Work from Pune University with a specialization in tribal, rural, and urban community developments. He also holds a degree called Diploma in Labor Law, as well as he did the PG Diploma in CSR from very prestigious institute called Indian Institute of Corporate Affairs. Mr. Rajaram Chavan has a 9 years experience in a development sectors. Out of that, 4 years he has spent with the SBA Foundations. He's also with the SBA Foundation right now. In SBA Foundation, Mr. Rajaram Chavan leading the portfolio like member of strategic committee, program committee projects of SBA Foundations, leading CSR project from conceptualization to impact assessments, leading the SBA Gram Seva, a flagship program of SBA Foundations for the holistic rural development in 30 panchayat of India alongside 10 CSR projects of SBA Foundations, incubating and leading a new CSR projects wherein exploring the creative ways to structure and launch the projects, leveraging resources to have a substantial impact. Due diligence and partnership development with the credible organization to execute the CSR project effectively. Sir is also managing positive, visible, and effective relationship with external stakeholders, governments, NGOs, and community and media. Sir, on behalf of Navjeevan Center for Developments and entire fraternity of our well-wishers and network partners, I would like to welcome you on this evening. And now you are requested to present the things by considering our today's topic. Thank you, and Rajaram Chavan, sir. Over to you, sir.
Yeah. Thank you, Professor Sanjay. Please, my apology because there's a lot of electricity problems here. If something goes wrong, please bear that. I have simultaneously managed with laptop and phone also. So first of all, I'll thank to Professor Sanjay and Navjeevan Center for Development for providing me this opportunity to talk on how to write grant winning proposal. I'm thankful to my president sir also, who is providing me opportunity to share my thoughts and my views on grant winning proposals. So I will off my video now and I'll take you through the presentations. The presentation will go through the two major components of grant request. One is the due diligence process and another one is the how to write in proposals. That is one thing, and after that we'll have questions and answers. Okay. I hope I'm audible to all of you clearly, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So these are the two major components of any proposal you take. Be it you do a partnership with any profit-making company, you do a partnership with any non-profit, or any kind of proposal, due diligence is required, and another one is the project proposal. So basically, due diligence talks about the regulatory thought process, regulatory documents, which imbibed by the law. So due diligence is very important. And apart from this, the project proposal, whereas we have to write everything about proposal, what is our objective, to what we are aiming to achieve. So these are the two major components of project proposal. So first is due diligence. See, first, before going to the due diligence, I would like to mention 2 3 things here. One is that see, any kind of partnership, the partnership it should be based on vision, philosophy, ideas, values. It should not be like general partnership, just to taking money and executing something for the society. So the partnership should be beyond our financial tie-ups. It should be beyond our financial handholdings. So that is the core. You see in the development sector also, every corporate stands with their values. Although they do their regular practices, although they do make their profits, they do stand with their values. So we have to clearly keep in your mind, all NGOs, that we have to do partnership on value base. So like due diligence, as I told you, that the term due diligence actually comes from the word of finance, obviously, where the companies have to do all the due diligence analysis for making the important investment decisions and so and so. So likewise, the same with the NGOs or with the not for profit organizations. This is very similar. Before I think someone is writing something on the presentation. Hello. Hello. Hello.
Rajaram, continue.
Hello. No, sir. Someone is writing on the
Okay.
presentation. Some wrong markings are going. Mr. Sanjay,
Yes, sir.
कोई writing कर रहा है क्या presentation पे?
Sir, I'm searching. Just I request all participants to do not do any writing or anything on the presentations.
They're just putting the lines on the writing.
So maybe the screen is they are typing something. So let me check. Yeah, you sir keep continue talking. I will.
Oh, it's getting disturbance. So थोड़ा सा एक बार देख लीजिए कौन है. Then we'll start. Otherwise, it will disturb in between again.
Yeah, sure, sir. Sure. Yes, sir.
Yes. Okay, so I was talking about due diligence. So before a donor invests in an NGO in form of a grant, they want to know if the NGO is a healthy organization with stable finances and the reliable work history. Okay, they have to make sure they do everything they can do, assure that they chosen partner, that the partner should be stable. The size of due diligence analysis depends on the size of the fund and then the grants and everything. So this is the basic concept of due diligence, I feel, which falls under the regulatory criteria. Why do you do the due diligence? To check the NGO is good and reliable partner, to check and follow all laws, organization is registered legally or no. So these are the two major reason why we do the due diligence, because everyone is imbibed with the law. So we have to, I mean, like NGOs has to report to the charity commissioners, on the government, to the IT departments. The similar way, the supporting organization has to report to the boards, report to the CAGs, depend on the government and private organization, report to the various authorities. So keeping that in view, these are the very important thing in the due diligence. So due diligence checklist, we have prepared one checklist for all of you. These are the commonly asked things for the due diligence. SBI Foundation generally asks this question because we follow the best practices in our country in the sector of development. So just see this list. There are almost 24 things we generally ask to the organizations. I'll just take a, I'll give a 30 minutes, 30 seconds to all of you to just see, just go through this list, where you will find all the legal documents. What are the things we are expecting from the NGOs as far as due diligence is concerned? So these are the things we generally look for. Right? So these are the general things. So I have done some breakup of all the required due diligence documents, which I'll take you through very shortly, because our main agenda is to talk on how to write a proposal. But this is also very important, because if you don't follow under all this, then we don't have any chance to write any proposals to anyone. So like in due diligence, the basic, the A component is the basic information, where we ask the general discussion of name of the contact person, designation, contact number, emails, what does the organization under which act the organization is registered, is it Section 8 company or society or trust, the place of registration, date of registration, everything. Again, in the basic information, if you see, these are the mainly highlighted things. The organization should not be politically associated or religiously associated with anyone. So these are the some few points I have prepared for all of you. Just go through this also. Association in terms of finance, association in terms of union, association in terms of party, trade union, whatever it is, there should not be any kind of association, religious or political association with anyone. I think everyone knows these are the basic things. So this is very important. As I told you that this falls under regulatory documents. So I think Sanjay sir is well versed about all these documentations. So these are the very basic documents, falls under regulatory documents, like registration, memorandum of association, ATG, 12A, FCRA, PAN, address, GST, IT returns, audit reports, annual reports, press reports, self-declaration. So these are the basic regulatory documents normally corporate checks. There is another check at the level of management and governance of the organization, of the NGOs. So we, as President sir told us, that we check everything of top management of the NGOs, the administrative departments, and the board members on the board profiles. So like we just check that who all are the functionaries, what is their name, how eminent they are, what they have done in their past, how positively they are involving in the activities. Because as all of you, we know that many of the board members are just for namesake. So we don't want that. So we want those organizations where top management and the executives of the organizations are fully involved in the activities. So their experience in current organization, relevant field experience, we just check. That is also a very important thing, because unless and until we don't have relevant field experience, we cannot expect people to give best for the reason or for the cause. So these are the things we check at top executive level, profile, and at the board level. See, this is again very important thing, which fall under management and governance. Board meetings are very important. Normally what happens is that I have seen, because we also receive so many requests from country for the grants. So normally sometime I like some thought process of the NGOs. I like their unique ideas of the development. But when I ask them about board meeting, they don't produce the board meeting. They They just show me a register where it is written on the pane. There is no stamp, there is no signature, there is no date. So what is the discussion happening about the development or the particular topic or the particular issue? Nowhere it is been mentioned. And I think the board, the meeting documents are required. I know there are some good organizations, they are maintaining it and following nicely, but there are many organizations who don't do this. So this is very important, and many of the organization fails here when they submit a request to us. Some of them try to write backdated minutes and they try to send it, but this is not the way to do it. We have to whatever the constitution we have developed for the organization, accordingly we have to do the board meetings, and the discussion of the meeting has to be minutized and it has to be recorded somewhere, and it has to be in line with each meetings. So that is very important. That is what we check in the minutes of the board meeting of the NGOs. Okay, so these are the things like as we check that कि sir एक family relation में है क्या, financial year में क्या status था, and the minutes of the meeting is maintained or recorded or no, what is the minimum number of members required to conduct a board meeting, everything, or whichever is the best practice, those organization we normally choose. Again, the employability employee sector of the NGO is very unstable. We all know that. Normally, people recruit on the basis of contractual staff based on project duration. So something, and then most of the NGOs work with volunteers also. Although these are very good concept, but we just see that permanent staff kitna hai, who can help, who are stable, who knows the ideology and thought process of the organization. Those things we normally check. So this is also very important, because say suppose we want to grant almost say suppose 1 crore we want to grant, and we see the NGO is good, the people are good, the idea is good, the execution planning is good on paper, but the required skill manpower is not there. The NGO is holding only 10 people, 5 people. So that time there is a problem in the due diligence where the rating goes down. So we see that portion also. Again, management and governance, we see all this required things. Policy in terms, see many organization, you might be heard about this Lokpal bill, which is again on hold, where it has been written that all the NGOs and their board members and their spouses has to declare their assets and liabilities and their incomes, everything. I think it is in hold, but in between we started doing that practice of collecting assets and liabilities of the board members and their spouses, because we believe that our SBI Foundation's due diligence stands for standard. So accordingly, we try to collect that, but somehow we are again waiting for that law to come. Once it will come, then we'll incorporate that part also in our due diligence process. So we'll just check that how much salary CEO is getting, how much salary members are getting, whatever the remuneration they are getting. Accordingly, we check that also, because few of the organization we find that most of the fund is going to the admin part. Most of the fund going is to the salary part. So that we don't want. Our agenda is that maximum fund has to go. Of course, one has to get whatever they're supposed to get, but maximum fund has to go to the end beneficiary. So with that perspective, we look into this also. Again, the IT and monitoring mechanism, I would say here that most of the NGOs lack here, because small NGOs, we are doing projects with small NGOs also. There also we find this problem, IT and monitoring mechanism, where we see that all this, किसी एक NGO का ऑफिस कहीं पे है जहाँ पे कंप्यूटर लगा है, 2 बंदे बैठे हैं, they are doing their work. So that is again a concern, because something goes wrong, reporting time पे नहीं आता है, ये नहीं होता है, वो नहीं होता है. So everything we do check with all this. And monitoring mechanism, I would say that monitoring mechanism has to be part of the SOP of the NGOs. It has to be clearly stated anyway, because we are struggling a lot with getting the quality reports and getting quality monitoring reports. So again, we check with organization finances. Finances may we just check that who all are the individual donors of the organization, who all are the CSR partner with the organization, private grant making, say like multilateral and aid agencies, government, others. So these are the normally falls under the category of donor. We do check. We normally check that the CSR company, the portion of the funding is of CSR company and the uh, project CSR companies and the finance companies who are supporting for the CSR project, rather looking into the individual donors. We normally avoid those organizations where organization is receiving individual donations. So these are the long-term source of funding we normally check. These are again, we check with, cross-checking with the donors, that who all are these people, which city, which area, for what, which cause they are supporting, everything we do check under the finances. So again, this is fund utilization. Many of the organizations fail to utilize the funds on time or the given timeline. So we do check that is there any lacuna in the submission of the utilization certificate. Is there have they done any like practices where the project duration got extended? So everything we do check in the finance management. That is the reason this utilization of grants, the reports are very important. The organization should have, many organization I found that the accountants are also not full time. They come on like daily wages kind of thing. So these things happens. So at a micro level, we do check everything. Okay, so these are the very important points of the finances. Again, under finances, transparency in terms of funding and donation, transparency in terms of operations. These are also very important points. You just look at through the points. I'll just give you a 30-second of time to all of you. So in donation, these are the things which fall under. So are you supporting, are you expressing our reports and everything to the government and the funding agencies and the stakeholders? Operation levels where there are some challenges, are we doing that? So these are the things we normally check in the finances. And again, as I told, we just see that who all are the partner with the NGO. We just check that what type of partnership is this, be it a funding, a strategic partnership, or the technical support to the NGO. So these are the things we normally check, and the references, of course, everyone do check the references. Same with award, and again, this award and recognitions are all very important points, because it always, pat on back for doing some good work for the society. So that is also a part of our due diligence. So now this is the second phase of our today's webinar, the proposal writing. Do you have any question about due diligence processes?
So now I allow the chat. So if anyone having a questions related to due diligence, please submit the questions through chat box. So, sir, participant asking the list that you have presented. Will it possible, sir?
The list,
Yes.
checking list, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, we'll share with you, sir.
Now, what is the timeline for followed by CSR team for due diligence?
So normally it depends on the organization, sir. Depend on the organization and their operational models. But you can consider 1 month. 1 month is for the due diligence process, because see, first of all, that is what I'm going to talk in the proposal writing. How people are approaching and how they are talking and how people are interacting and how they are taking CSR through and how NGOs are asking for the funds, what for they are asking for. It depend on all this. Again, it has to match with the CSR policy of the particular company, right? So depend on this, but normally for due diligence, it takes 1 month to 2 months. Why? Because nowadays, to checking all these documents, asking all these documents, filing it, get it done, waiting with the respective departments. So these all are the things we have to see. For that it is, and again, once the due diligence comes to us, it has to go to the various committees. So accordingly, it will take around 1 or 2 months. Normally, for communication thing, we do respond within 10 days. Once the concept note comes or the brief executive summary comes, that time we take around 4 to 5 days to reply them, if it is falling under the CSR policy of the organization and management is okay with the thought process and ideas and with the project. Definitely we do reply, and you can take it as general timing for 1 to 2 months.
There are certain questions related to, sir, is there FCR is mandatory or GST is mandatory, or what is the
Yes,
thumb rule
yes.
for budget part, sir?
No, budget part. See, what you're asking is FCRA and ATJ and all these fall under regulatory. You want to 5 lakh rupee donation or 5 crore rupee donation, you have to give this document. That is one thing. As far as Indian CSR Act goes, this FCRA is not required, but ATG and 12A is required.
Sir, suppose if any organization they don't have HR policy or finance policy or procurement policy, then I mean, what is your feedback about it?
To be frank, sir, we don't go with such organization, because you see, when we are thinking to support almost 1 crore rupee, just an example I am just giving you. Say suppose we are supporting for 1 crore rupee for a cause, and organization wants to purchase something and they don't have purchase policy or procurement policy. Then on what basis they will purchase the thing? They do the regular practices what they wants to do. So that way we don't go ahead with this organizations who don't follow the proper HR policy, who don't follow the proper finance policy.
Okay, sir. And
I understand one thing, just adding to what I am saying. I understand one thing is that, okay, fine, NGOs are very small, they are working at very grassroots level, they don't have mandate required manpower and everything. But you see the trends of corporates, how corporates are serious about CSR, what they actually want. CSR is becoming now, it's like very serious concern. People are taking very critically to the CSR, and of course the PUCs like public sector banks and then the public sector companies and the corporates, they have to report to the authorities, so it cannot be taken as a light.
Yes, sir. One question that is very critical. That type. Is there any, sir, proportionate, in terms of budget, like salary component is like that, or administrative expenses like that?
Yes. That I am going to cover in the proposal writing, because the budgeting is one of the component of the proposal writing. That I'll brief you.
Okay.
Once
Okay,
we'll go through the proposal, we'll get to know about the budgeting also.
So, sir, please, you are requested to move ahead, because we have taken all the quality questions that is in a chat box.
Okay, thank you,
Yeah,
sir.
yeah. Please, sir.
So next phase is proposal writing. So once the due diligence is correct, आपका due diligence का सारा document ready है, organization convince है, आपको भी लगता है कि आपके पास required due diligence documents है, then we have to think of writing proposal to the corporates. So normally कोई भी proposals होता है, so communication से start होता है, right? Communication in it can be on phone, it will be through SMS with the reference or email or meeting, whatever it is. But I have purposefully given color here. Telephonic communication, SMS are in the gray color. And if you see the email and meetings, it is in the green color. Normally, the emails are recorded to do the best practices and the meetings in the corporate offices where the NGOs does come, they do put their thought process, their ideas, their projects in front of the management of the organization, where people are involved, where hot discussion has happened on the topic, those kind of discussion. And if of course competent authority is agreeing with the ideas, definitely we to take up those proposals forward. So this is the communication, and the communication is very key thing. So normally बहुत से लोग ऐसे हैं जो बोलता है कि ओके फाइन सर इसका रेफरेंस है, ऐसा ऐसा कॉल किया है, प्लीज दे दो, ऐसा नहीं होता है, राइट? या फिर बहुत सारे वन मोर थिंग आई डोंट नो, आई मे बी रॉन्ग और राइट, बट जहां पे हमको एंट्री लेनी है वहां पे हमको हमेशा प्लीज करना चाहिए, राइट? दिस इज व्हाट द बेस्ट प्रैक्टिस आई फील. To put our step in is we have to please, request. That is the thing. So that sometime we miss that. Many of the people do demand, put use hard words for the communication. Those should not be a great practice. Those should not be the practices of the communication. So these are the most likely communication tools we do use with the corporates. And after that, so these are the proposals, how to write proposals ka components. Okay, how to communicate, how to write proposal, how to set objective and goals, stakeholder involvement, execution of the project plan, project beneficiaries, monitoring and evaluation, impact and social return on investment. So these are the, and budgeting, of course, what you have asked her. So these are the major portions I am going to cover into the proposal writing. See, the introductory communication, most of the people fails here because the communication normally goes general. एनजीओ का कोई भी बंदा बात करता है तो बोलता है कि हम इस टॉपिक पे काम कर रहे हैं सर, ये ऐसा हो रहा है, ऐसा ऐसा हम करेंगे, इतना पैसा चाहिए, ऐसा एक्टिविटी होगा, राइट? बट यू सी आजकल के ट्रेंड में आजकल के बच्चे जो रेप्यूटेड ऑर्गेनाइजेशन से इंस्टीट्यूशन से पढ़ के आए हैं, दे आर वेरी पर्टिकुलर विद द कम्युनिकेशन. हमारा जो कम्युनिकेशन, हमारा जो एनजीओ का कम्युनिकेशन है वो एकदम मिनिमम वर्ड्स में होना चाहिए, जहाँ पे प्रॉब्लम हमारा फर्स्ट स्टेटमेंट होना चाहिए और हमारा आउटकम क्या है वो सबसे जरूरी है. बिकॉज every corporate want to see that what is the outcome. You see any CSR project you take, everyone wants to see the what is the end result, right? So the communication बहुत ही important है ना, वो मिनिमम होना चाहिए, आउटकम बेस्ड होना चाहिए और प्रॉब्लम जो प्रॉब्लम स्टेटमेंट हो क्लियरली मेंशन होना चाहिए. Again, when we are talking about development project, our development project should not be a business project, right? This project should be directly benefiting to the underprivileged or deprived section of the society. So that is also a very important part. Normally कुछ लाइवलीहुड के प्रोजेक्ट्स आते हैं जहां पे प्रॉफिट्स रेवेन्यू जनरेशन वाली बात होती है. So those things should not be a part. Our development project should be stick with the welfare of the community or welfare of the society. It should not be go into the business mind, right? Because if you see CSR law also, Schedule 7 you see, UN SDGs you see. So these are the major areas, these are the major components which we have to cover or we have to touch. And our proposal or discussion or communication should be based on this SDGs and Schedule 7 activities of the CSR Act. Again, one more very important thing is that the communication should be a mind sharing creation. Mind sharing creation means influence. How unique you are, how unique your ideas are. It has to reflect into the mind of the donor or the person who is replying to the NGO, right? हम देखिए, you take at any subject, say suppose I am taking education. There are thousands of NGOs who are working for the education, but how unique your education model is, what are the gaps in education system, and how your ideas and your thoughts are, or your project is going to fill those gaps. That is called the reflection. That has to be clearly convinced to the donor or the financer. So these are the basic things which we have to see while we communicating with the corporates. Again, after having that communication, if you had very nice discussion, they like your ideas, they like your projects, they got influenced with your thought process and your projects, then you have to wait for the reply from the donor. Normally ये भी बहुत जगह पे नहीं होता है. People आज प्रपोजल लोग आज प्रपोजल सबमिट करता है और दूसरे दिन पूछता है हमारे प्रपोजल का क्या हुआ. ऐसा नहीं होता है. So we have to wait for the reply, and if not, we have to, after like whatever the best time we can wait, we have to wait for that, and after that we have to ask them for the reply. And I'm sure when the ideas are clear, when the thought process is clear, when the project is fitting into the policy, people do reply. So we have to wait for the reply. And if you are following all the best practices, what we have mentioned in the communication, definitely people will, the chances of replying to the NGOs will definitely increase. Again, after that, we normally ask, create and presentation summary of the proposal. We normally ask summary. Summary means normally people do think that, oh, अच्छा, summary means वो पूरा project का plan दे देता है हम लोग को. It is not like that. So summary should be very crispy. Summary should be, the bullet points or the highlights of our entire project. It has to be summarized. Okay, and it again it has to be. See, suppose I have given here example. A summary of proposal plays a key role in the decision making of concerned CSR person or corporates, because it is like your synopsis, right? आप क्या करना चाहते हैं उसका सिनॉप्सिस है. क्या क्या प्रोसेसेस आप इन्वॉल्व करना चाहते हैं वो आपका सिनॉप्सिस है. आप देखिए, मेजर थिंग व्हाट nowadays corporate sees is that what is the gap you are going to fill, what is the target you are going to achieve, and what is the percentage. आप वो टारगेट का कोई परसेंटेज निकालो, तो उस परसेंटेज में आप क्या अचीव करना चाहते हैं. They want to see this. The content of brief summary should be involved the problem, need, data and outcome is all writing general statement. General statement नहीं आने चाहिए proposal summary में. For example, say suppose कोई XYZ नाम का किसी एक institution ने research किया है, right? Where they have find that 40% people of XYZ districts are sickle cell positive. Your idea is that, okay, fine, I can tackle this issue, right? How are you going to tackle everything? You have to brief in the proposal, but not here. But your outcome, your end result has to reflect in your summary. Whereas then you have to see that, oh, अच्छा, say suppose 10 लाख एक डिस्ट्रिक्ट का पॉपुलेशन है, उसमें से 14% सिकल सेल पॉजिटिव है, so 1.4 million are suffering, right? So whatever the reasons, whatever the practices they might be doing to increase this disease, so we have to see that. जहाँ पे हमको facts figures की बहुत जरूरत है. आगे मैंने दिया है describe the desired outcomes, right? So desired outcomes हमारे proposals में आना चाहिए. Summary में, I'm talking about summary only. We have not yet started the proposal writing. This is the summary. You see in the summary how we are going to solve the problem and achieve the goals. See, for example, as I told you that 40% people who are suffering with sickle cell anemia, it has to be defined. It has to be clearly defined in our summary by conducting what, how you are going to achieve that. So you might be conducting awareness camp, screening, food supply, whatever the best practices you can do to mitigate those challenges, you have to clearly mention in this. So what is your ultimately aim is that, okay, fine, sickle cell anemia का आदमी 40-50 साल जीता है, we want to increase their lifespan up to 15 to 20 years and reducing the sickle cell population from 14 to 4%. So हमारा target रहेगा, whatever the project duration you may set, 5 years, 10 years, 2 years, 3 years. So you want to achieve, you want to reduce that number from 14 to 4. These are the facts and figure you have to clearly mention in the summary of the proposal, where the donor can understand what you actually want to achieve, right? Again, here I have purposefully mentioned one word, risk. Normally no one does write this word risk in the proposal. हम लोग जो है, where when we support for the cause, we do check the risk. Finances में तो definitely होता है, but in the development sector also we do check the risk. Say suppose मैं XYZ NGO को support, हमारा organization support कर रहा है, what will be the risk? Say suppose I am supporting for any skill training program. So skill training नहीं होगा तो क्या होगा, बंदे का credibility नहीं होगा तो क्या होगा, अच्छा उसमें कुछ दूसरे issues हो गए तो क्या होगा. So all this risk we do analyze, but I would like to mention here that it has to come from the NGOs. NGOs should know what are the risks involved in the proposal, because they are the one who are going to implement it. They are the one who are actually working on the ground. So they know what are the risks. The risk factor has to be mentioned in the summary of the proposal, right? And again, ask for the decision you want to make. Once you have submitted all this, request should be clearly stated about what kind of support you are seeking. As I mentioned that आपको finance का support चाहिए, technical support चाहिए, volunteering चाहिए. What exactly you want, it has to be clearly stated in the summary of the proposal. This is again very important points. Inform to the implementation team about your proposal. Normally what happens is that XYZ NGOs working on XYZ topic, they don't have expertise with them. So whatever the planning, whatever the proposals, whatever the ideas, whatever the thought process we are sharing with the corporate, it has to be discussed at NGO level with their team members. These are the very important points I am sharing with all of you. Now this is the actual topic of today's discussion, how to write a proposal, right? Again, here you have to do a lot of background work. You see, the background work involves funders website, goal of the funders, grant making philosophy, review of recently funded proposals. So as our president sir has mentioned here, we do go ahead with our like-minded philosophy people, or we do go ahead with what values we carry. So with those organizations we normally go ahead with. So these are the things NGO has to, before shooting any email, before doing any communication with any corporates, we have to see all this. Funders website क्या है, देखना है, उनका समझना है क्या चल रहा है, कौन से प्रोजेक्ट को ज्यादा से ज्यादा सपोर्ट कर रहा है, उनका फिलोसॉफी क्या है, इस ईयर का फोकस एरिया क्या है, राइट? सो एवरीथिंग इट हैज टू बी सी. उनके रिसेंट प्रपोजल, रिसेंटली अपडेटेड प्रपोजल कौन से है, कौन से टॉपिक पे है, कौन से सब्जेक्ट पे है, एवरीथिंग यू हैव टू सी. ओके, एंड देन द डिस्कशन ऑन प्रपोजल इन एनजीओ टीम एंड at recipient level, NGO level. So these are the question you will find on Google also. ये ऐसे questions है which we have to discuss. Normally we don't discuss. Top executive में 2 लोग बात हो जाता है, टीम में बात नहीं होता है, या फिर नीचे कहीं पे बात हो जाता है, टीम में ऊपर बात नहीं होता है. कोई भी टॉपिक पे आप काम कर रहे हो, take it as any issue you want to address, you have to have a hard discussion at NGO level with your team members. So these are the some questions we have to see, and normally we critically see these questions when we see the proposal. Why it is important, for whom we are going to do this, why is the related work has been what is the related work has been already done, what gap does your project feel. So these are the critical questions we normally see. You can go through these questions. All right. See, point number 15. Question number 15. Can this project will be easily replicated or forwarded? Most of the corporates see this nowadays. Whatever we are doing, any project we are doing at an XYZ location, we are ending up this project then and there. We have invested resources, we have invested time, we have invested money, and project ends there only. Locally, normally corporates nowadays, they are not looking for such projects. They are looking for those projects which can be replicated at other part of the country, which can be easily forwarded or handed over. The sustainability measure has to be taken proper care. So we are looking for this kind of proposals which can easily replicated. Again, point number 16, very critical, and this is very big question in front of every development, I mean like every NGO or corporates. And normally our project fails here. हम पैसा का सपोर्ट करना बंद कर देते हैं, प्रोजेक्ट वहीं पे रुक जाता है. सो हम इनिशियली बात करते हैं पीपल पार्टिसिपेशन होगा, ये होगा, वो होगा, सब खुद कैरी करेंगे. नथिंग विल कैरी विदाउट फंड्स. आई नो दैट and we know that better. So this is very critical point we have to ensure in our proposal, that how this project can be continued, how this project can be replicated in the future, right? So these are the very critical questions we have to have discussion, and this question should be a part of our proposal writing, I would say. Again, development of objectives and goal. Of course, each NGO have their own goals for doing development work. Different thematic areas they do carry, right? So what is our ultimate goal? It has to be replicated in the project. And objective, of course, objectives has to be in line with achieving the goals of the particular issue, right? So these are normally terms as steps for achieving the ultimate goals. Proposed activities must be planned in line with the achieved objective. The goal should be a problem solving and replicable in other part of state or country, as I have mentioned in the point number 15, right? Again, stakeholder involvement, beneficiaries. So beneficiaries, these are the things. Socio-economic condition needs to be mentioned in the proposal. The involvement of beneficiaries, planning, implementation, and handholding process must be ensured. Normally, it may come into the next slide also. Normally, what happens is that, oh, acha, NGOs and the corporates goes and they do select. So suppose one rural development village is there, we want to do it. In fact, we are also doing, where people, I mean like the beneficiaries are part of the discussion of need assessment. Definitely they are part of the need assessment, but again they are part of the implementation also, but they are not part of the designing the project. They are not part of the proposing the budgets to the corporate, right? These are the new trends now corporates are looking into, because we want everything has to become to the public. What is the public demand? That matters. What is the need of the society? That matters. So we have to involve beneficiaries in planning and executing of the proposal, so to writing the proposal, how much budget, for what it is required. So everything has to be discussed with the beneficiaries. And again, ultimately we have to go with the government departments. So government department is also very important, plays a very vital and important role in the any development project, because they are the ultimate one who are going to take care of the projects in the future. So involving beneficiaries and government is very important. Okay. So execution of the project, again, there are standard formats for implementation model of the project: baseline need assessment, plan of the activities, expected project results. The results should be, outcome based, as I have mentioned in the beginning slides also. It has to be outcome based. It has to be measurable in terms of quantitative and qualitative terms, right? Numbers, facts, figures, everything has to be clearly mentioned. Again, these are the very important things, metrics, timelines, milestone. So how we are going to achieve this, it has to be clearly mentioned in the implementation model of the project. Project activities. What are the project activities we are going to conduct or we are going to do to achieve the ultimate goal of the project? So those has to be clearly mentioned, right? Rationale for choosing the project location. That is again important aspect of the project. Now, see, from government side also, CSR companies wanted to do a lot of work for aspirational districts, the backward districts, so our rationale has to be very strong when you're choosing the location, right? So these are the things you have to see, look into it. Again, who is the responsible person from top management to execute the project? Most of the time what happens is that the top management of the NGO do come only for initial discussion, ग्रांड सैंक्शन, जब तक ग्रांड सैंक्शन होता है तब तक वो पिक्चर में रहता है और बाद में रिपोर्टिंग में मैनेजर्स लग जाते हैं, राइट? सो दैट शुड नॉट बी अ केस. Every time the top executives of the NGOs has to look into the day-to-day operation also of the project. It is very important, and nowadays we are involving, we are doing that practices, of course, with our projects also. I know some of the top executives, they have their other commitments also, but we have to see what we are committed for. This is also a very important point. Ensuring collaboration with similar working organizations like any institutions. Normally ये होता है डेवलपमेंट सेक्टर के प्रोजेक्ट्स में कि अरे हमारा आइडिया है, हमारा थॉट प्रोसेस है, हम अपने स्टाइल से चलेंगे. दे आर गोइंग विद देयर ओन आइडियाज, ओन स्टाइल. how why we will go and have discussion, why we will go and have knowledge sharing sessions, why we will have go to them. So these kind of things normally happens, but ideally it should not happen. Knowledge sharing is is best practice, I would say, to achieve any ultimate goal. Say suppose similar like-minded organizations are working on XYZ particular issue, and then they are not sharing, they are not looking up to each other, then that should not be case. So how you can collaborate the similar like-minded organization or similar working organization into your project, that has to be ensured into the implementation model of the project. Again, project beneficiaries, although it has been, as I told you that next slide is going to come about the project beneficiaries. The number of beneficiaries should be mentioned in the proposal. The type of beneficiaries, of course, direct and indirect beneficiaries. For example, say suppose cancer patient we are supporting under CSR, then the cancer patient is the ultimate beneficiary or direct beneficiary of the program, and the family of the patient is the indirect beneficiary of the program. Likewise, the skill trainings, you see the trainee will be the direct beneficiary, and the family of the trainee will be the indirect beneficiary. The as I mentioned there, the beneficiary should be a part of need assessment, project implementation, evaluation. The role of the beneficiary should be clearly mentioned in the beneficiary section. It will help them to develop sense of belongingness or ownership. ये बहुत जरूरी है. You see, any development project ये बहुत ही जरूरी पॉइंट है, क्योंकि हम जहाँ पे सस्टेनेबिलिटी की बात कर रहे हैं वहां पे हम फेल हो जाते हैं अगर हम लोग ये नहीं करेंगे, राइट? सो ये ओनरशिप का सेंस डेवलप करने में या बिलोंगिंगनेस का सेंस डेवलप करने में, if we are making beneficiary a part of project from initial communication to impact assessment, then definitely it will work. This is what we believe in. Project monitoring and evaluation. Procedure of for project monitoring for project operations needs to be set. It will help in ensure that the plan activities occurs on time. So these are the project monitoring system you have to involve into the proposal writing. What are the monitoring mechanism? What are the monitoring system we are going to adopt to execute the program, and the evaluation also, right? Responsibility of the person needs to be set. execution में responsibility is very important. You have to see who all are the project staff, what are the responsibility they are going to take. These are the very basic things which I have to mention into the implementation and evaluation of the evaluation part of the project. Again, this is ultimate goal of doing any project, is that what is the impact and what is social return on investment. So for measuring impact, we have to set targets and achievements, whatever the target we have set at the beginning of the project and whatever the achievement we have achieved at the end of the project. Those are two things. Development of the metrics, right? Development of the metrics for measuring the social, economical, psychological, and environmental impacts. We have to set the metrics, indicators to measure all these developmental changes into the society. Again, SROI can be a return as a qualitative impact. Many organizations miss it normally. Qualitative report में बहुत general report आ जाता है. वो ultimate goal और ultimate objective जो हमारे रहते हैं उसके line में नहीं रहता है वो impact report. Many organizations miss it. So that is the thing. The last component of the proposal writing is the budget, and it is very important. And everything whatever we have discussed, it has to be come to the it has to be reflection into the budget part, this thing. So normally these are the basic components we do see in the budget: direct program cost, indirect program cost, personnel cost, contingency, and admin cost. So I think संजय सर ने भी एक सवाल किया था कि admin cost का क्या है. So I'll brief you, sir. Direct program cost involves whatever the activities you are doing for the project, which falls under project, whatever the purchasing, equipments, everything you are taking, or whatever the activities you are doing, everything falls under the direct program cost. Okay, so that has to be clearly mentioned in the budget sheet. Indirect program cost, of course, whatever the supportive things you require. Say suppose you want to do a baseline, you want to do a village development project, whereas you need to do the baseline, you need to do the documentary films and so on. So this falls under the indirect program cost. Personnel cost, of course, for whoever are personnel involved into the executing of the project, इसका salary कितना रहेगा, कौन program manager रहेगा, who will be the director, who will be everything, it has to be mentioned in the personnel. Contingency we normally do not exceed more than 10% in the project. And of course, organization like SBI Foundation, we do have control on the contingency part. We do release on the need base, after seeing the need of the contingency fund. And again, admin cost also we do restrict up to 5% of the total project cost. We do not exceed more than that. So again, if you have any questions with the proposal related things, you can have.
Yeah, so I have opened a chat window. So participants are requested to share their questions through chat.
Yeah.
So the first thing is you have nicely illustrated all the micro indicators of proposals. So first of all, congratulations for your wonderful presentations. Now, participant asked one question, sir, will you share some detail on SROI? Little more
yes,
about.
Definitely.
Yes,
Definitely. Detail in sense you want to
little more about social return on investment, because it is for grassroots organization, it is hard to digest. This is a very technical term. So can you simplify it?
I think this terms is not much technical. You see, हम पहले जब बात करते थे कोई किसी को भी फंडिंग करना है तो हम से सपोज इंडिविजुअल से टेक इट एज एन इंडिविजुअल, कीप इट असाइड दिस इन सोशल रिटर्न ऑन इन्वेस्टमेंट. एक सिंपल एग्जांपल देते हैं, हम किसी को भी दान देते हैं, से सपोज दान देते हैं किसी को, तो हम बदले में क्या चाहते हैं? बस आशीर्वाद चाहते हैं, राइट? This is the general concept we do follow. So the corporates, I'm just linking these two things together. The corporates are the part of the society, right? Whatever they are gaining out of the society. Whatever businesses they are doing it to the society. So it is their moral and ethical responsibility to give back to the society, and they are giving. Of course, we have law, so it is mandate we are giving to them. So what return social return we want, corporates wants from the community is this only. We want our branding, we want we want to show that, the corporates want to show that how ethically they are doing the practices, what are their best values they are following. Everything falls under social return on development. So this can be a separate presentation, sir. It cannot be discussed in a short term.
Yes, sir. So, sir, there is one particular question that is, what are the key points? I think you have absolutely explained all the points. But again, there are participants asking that what are the key areas for making the good proposals?
So key areas, as I discussed, communication is very important. Writing skills are very important. Of course, following the standard process of social development project, those are very important. Setting up the goals. See, ultimately, as I told you, that what we want to achieve at the end, that matters. And can that ultimate achievement is, it can be replicated in the other part of the country, or it can be resolve the problem of many of the others. That has to be seen.
Okay, thank you, sir.
For this also, I think I got one message that how to apply for grants at SBI Foundation also. So ours are like public entities, so it is available on our website also. You can go to SBI Foundation website and you can apply through it. On website, we are doing two practices. One is that our email ID is already there. You can write your proposal on email ID also. And the common how to write and like how to apply for the grant request, it has been clearly mentioned on the SBI Foundation page. You can go to the grant section and you can see.
So I think, sir, admin cost you have talked about, it is a maximum 10%, isn't it, sir? There is one question as well. So it is a 10% only.
5%, sir.
5%. Admin cost is 5%,
yes.
and contingency is 10%.
And 10%, that 10% of contingency fund has to be utilized for the program only.
Sir,
program activities.
Trupti Desai asked one question. Is there any window for a newly, a normal scenario, a newly startup social enterprise or non-government organizations? Anywhere, not only SBI foundations, as per your experience?
No, sir. Normally, people are, they do, a few of the corporates are following 2 years of registration and the 2 years of all the, financial details and the audit report and annual report. Everything they do check. But government organization, they do follow the 3-year standard process. Of course, earlier, many government organizations used to do with the society register, only registered organization under Society Registration Act or the Indian Trust Act or the trust or societies only. But now they have involved Section 8 companies also, which are made for the not for profit, which falls under GST law again. But those can also apply.
Okay, sir. So one wonderful question that is raised from Parmanand Athukpam. The government has taken many programs in paper, but not reaching to the target population. But the number is counted. When they interact with the people, there is a gap. When write a proposal, show the real problem in the village. After submission of the proposal, funder check the data to web. The gap is always between real in village and web data. So what will be the right way to reflect the things?
Yes, it's very good and very genuine question. It is a very realistic question also. See, if this is not happening, then ultimately the NGO sector and corporates who are supporting for CSR, they are responsible for that, right? So it means corporates are funding, NGOs are doing their work, but still benefit is not reaching to the beneficiary, right? This is what is, the main question is. At some cases it is happening, at some cases I don't agree with it, because I have seen very positive impact of many corporate CSR projects and financial institutions CSR project at the ground level. Of course, to bridge that gap, as I told you, that we have to ensure that our beneficiary, because it is not reaching to the beneficiary, whatever the beneficiary we are quoting into the proposal, those beneficiaries has to be a part of the designing, planning, executing, and handholding everything. In each process, they have to be a part of the procedure. Then only this gap can be bridged. Of course, there are monitoring tools. We also do the geo-tagging monitoring. We also do checking with online dashboard. We also check with video conferencing. We also visit to the, whatever the practices we do, field visits we do conduct regularly, but still there are gaps. We have to accept it. And to bridge that gap, see, ultimately the beneficiary has to be part of the program. Then only that question will be erased.
Okay, thank you, sir. One of the questions from Vikram Paswan, that, sir, what are the direct and indirect program cost?
Direct program cost, as I told, whatever the activities, whatever the asset, whatever the support, whatever the asset, whatever the activities, whatever the program cost you are looking. Say suppose you want to have an education program where you want to purchase a computer lab, you want to set up a computer lab, you want to set up an smart classes. So whatever the funds required for that particular activity, that falls under direct program cost. And indirect program cost, like say suppose you need a traveling expense for that, you need to do the need assessment of that particular school, so that falls under the indirect program cost.
Okay, Mr. Aniket asked one question, sir. How do NGO build the corpus? If contingency fund is for the project, please share something on sustainability plan of NGO. How can we request for a corpus?
No, corpus raising is not the ultimate aim of the NGOs, I would say, because if you see our name itself, it is not for profit. So developing corpus is not our ultimate goal.
Sir, what are the component in admin cost? It is again a nice question, sir. Component. It is a flat, will be written in a proposal, or can we add the component as well?
Yes, admin cost involve everything like office infrastructure. What you want an table, you want an Xerox machine, you want an whatever the paper and pencil, everything falls under admin cost.
So almost all the questions that we have taken. Then again, we have taken one question is the assessment and evaluation point. What should be the monitoring and assessment and evaluation point for the NGOs?
Assessment.
Assessment, evaluation, and monitoring.
Sir, these three are very important things, and if I'm going to elaborate you in this way, say suppose assessment of what? Assessment of need for what? To achieve the ultimate goal. Say suppose हमको किसी का फार्मर का जो इनकम है उसको डबल करना है, दिस इज आवर अल्टीमेट गोल एम. तो हम हमारा नीड असेसमेंट, एनजीओ का नीड असेसमेंट क्या होना चाहिए ग्राउंड पे? कंट्री के कौन से पार्ट में, कौन से डिस्ट्रिक्ट के कौन से ब्लॉक में फार्मर का सिचुएशन क्या है, उसका इनकम का स्टेटस आज के डेट में क्या है, उसके पीछे के रीजंस क्या क्या है, व्हाट आर द रीजंस बिहाइंड देयर लो इनकम, those have to be studied properly. That is called need assessment. Then you will come to the what did you say, monitoring, right? Because when you produce this kind of data and statistic to the corporates will support you. That time you have to see that whatever the plan, so you have to have plan to mitigate those need assessment issues, right? What you have find in the need assessment, you have to see. Then accordingly you have to have your activities. For that activities, again corporates are supporting. The monitoring is something nowadays it has to be done through technology. अभी वो जमाना चला गया है कि अभी 6 महीने में एक बार फील्ड पे जाएंगे, देखेंगे क्या हो रहा है. नो, we have to see every month, we have to see every quarter, I would say fortnight, I would say we have to see what is happening into the ground. These are the stringent monitoring processes we have to follow. Although we are little lacking into the technology terms for monitoring the project, but still I would say it is good to be go ahead with the technologies to monitor the project. And evaluation, again evaluation is nothing but evaluation is, whatever we have done, whatever we have executed, have we executed as per our plan, are we on right track of achieving our ultimate goal? These all points falls under evaluation process.
Thank you, sir. Now we will take the last questions. And the last question is there any the quantum minimum to maximums, generic or maybe for SBI foundations for proposal submission?
Yes. For each organization, I would say not only for SBI Foundation, each organization have minimum to maximum quantum for supporting the CSR funds. As much I know about SBI Foundation, we can support up to maximum 10 crore. Minimum, I think minimum we don't have any limits.
So
we have supported like 2 lakhs project also, like 2 lakh rupees, 5 lakh rupees. So we have supported like that, but mostly we do see that what are the bigger projects, because we are mainly working on the rural development projects, youth engaging projects like Youth for India or one of the successful projects, and then PWDs, which is again very important section of the society, we are addressing them. And again independent projects, issue-based project we are addressing.
So thank you, sir. I think you have taken almost all the questions. Now, Nixon, sir, would you like to share something?
No, Rajaram has covered most of the points, and in detail about the due diligence process SBI Foundation is following. So in one way, it will be beneficial for the NGOs, because whatever corporates or foundations are demanding, it will help in the NGOs keeping better accounting practices, better documentation, better data collection, etc., which will help them in the long run. Because in the days to come, there will be a lot of regulations on NGOs, etc. So they have to keep their books transparent, accounts transparent, etc. So like when we submit a proposal with due diligence requirements, as has been already told, indirectly our NGO is only improving their practices. So in that way, it benefits both. And I would tell that those who are engaging or coming into NGO sector should be very passionate about the cause they are supporting. If we are thinking that it is just another routine job, then we will not be able to do justice to the community with which we are involved. So be it CSR foundations or NGOs, only those who are interested in bringing change, like passionate about bringing change, should enter this sector. Then there will be a lot of development happening. Thank you, Sanjay Venani, for this opportunity. And I hope that most of the queries would have been clarified. And if you want to know more details, you can go into our website, www.sbifoundation.in. Thank you. And thank you, Rajaram, for that good presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I think very good things that first of all, sir, for inspiring us to take this topic. like it is very essential for almost all the NGOs. And the key thing, I think, I'm quite sure that the many CSR foundations follow the path of SBI Foundation, sir, isn't it? So if you can, if you wanted to, I mean, if you can generalize, so most of the things will be followed by other as well. So it is a very common things. As sir said, we have to be passionate, and we know that the sometimes the passionate people are there, but they are facing difficulty to they reflect their feelings on paper. So that's why the such kind of the webinar is quite useful. And we are very much thankful for SBI Foundation for sharing their knowledge, and the presence of Honorable President Sri Nixon Joseph sir. And not only his presence, but also he managed and the faculty as well. And we have given a very wonderful personality called Mr. Rajaram Chavan. So thank you, sir, for sharing the all micro details, and in a easiest language, so I think everyone can understand. So thank you one and all. Even in the last, I will also appreciate the engagement of the participants that join the session from across the country. So we have participants from all over the country in a true sense. We have from Northeast, from Northeast India, from West India and South India as well. So thank you very much for the participant. And thank you, Nixon sir, for your gracious presence and guidance. And Rajaram sir, you really you are the man of the match for today's webinar. You
Thank
share
you, sir. Thank you.
uh,
I am not the man of the match. It's okay.
hardly
Thank you.
earn the knowledge.
Thank you, sir.
So thank you, sir. With your kind permissions, we'll be end of the session over here, sir.
Okay, thank you everyone. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I have shared feedback link. So if participant wanted to claim their certification of participations, they can claim. So fill up the feedback forms. So the screen is open for 1 or 2 minutes. So I hope that everyone get the link of feedback form.